Hi, my name is Daniel Lundby of Quilts by a Dude, and in this lesson we're going to learn how to cut and back the t-shirts needed for your t-shirt quilt in the t-shirt quilt sew-along. To cut and back our t-shirts, we're going to need a few supplies. First, you're going to need 10 to 13 of the t-shirts for your t-shirt quilt. Then we'll also need a fusible backing. I'm using this nylon tricot. Next, we're going to need a rotary cutter. I'm using an Olfa 45-inch rotary cutter, and along with that I'm using the Olfa brand cutting mat 18 by 24 inches, though you can go bigger. I also have a large quilting ruler from Creative Grids. You're going to need an iron and an ironing board, a good pair of fabric scissors, and a press cloth so you don't burn your fusible backing or melt the artwork and screen printing off your t-shirt. For this sew-along, t-shirt selection will be important. So a few things you should know. A t-shirt like this, a polo t-shirt or t-shirt with small artwork off to the side, is not going to work for this project. Instead, you'll want to find t-shirts with large artwork that'll utilize the 10.5 inches by 10.5 inches block we'll be cutting for this pattern. Another thing to look out for are holes in t-shirts. If your favorite t-shirt has a hole in it, it'll most likely leave a hole in your quilt. So unfortunately, these kind of shirts can't be used for this project. Now that you've selected your t-shirts, it's time to cut and back them for the quilt. Our first step is going to be to cut the sleeves off above the hemline on both sides, like so, and you can discard these. You will not be needing these for later. Step 2, we're going to cut the shoulder seams and then along the sides. And I find the easiest way to cut the sides is after you cut the tops, and then you just fold your t-shirt over like this, so it's half and half. And you just cut right up the middle. If the back of the t-shirt doesn't have any artwork that you're going to use, you can discard it. And then we have just the front of the t-shirt of the artwork that we're going to use. This is where we're going to want to take our straight edge and start cutting some of the bulk away from the t-shirt. So this neck area, we're not going to need a large portion of this bottom. We're not going to need, and these irregular sides we're not going to need right now, and those can all be thrown away. So basically what we have left is just a large portion of the t-shirt just with the artwork. And yes, it's going to be larger than the 10.5 by 10.5 finished square that we're going to have, because we're going to back it, iron it, and then trim it to the correct size. It's a lot easier this way as opposed to cutting it down to the 10 by 10 and then backing it. A lot of the time, if you've got wording or some printing that has some straight lines, it'll get wonky. So this way we are protecting the artwork and we will trim it down to the size we need. Step 4 is where we apply the fusible backing to the t-shirt artwork. So t-shirt artwork goes face down, and then I just always cut a big square of the fusible to go over. It doesn't have to be exact because we are going to be trimming away. Make sure you have the adhesive side down. You can usually tell. This is a good time if you'd like to use some of those scraps and some of your fusible backing to do some tests on which iron setting works the best, how much pressure or how long you should put your iron over it. I use a number 4 setting, so it's the lowest steam setting on my iron. And I always use a press cloth so I don't burn or melt anything, including the fusible backing or the screen print artwork that you have on the front of the t-shirt. So once we have those layered, t-shirt, fusible, our iron nice and hot, we're just gonna lay our press cloth over nice and gently. And we're just gonna iron. Now I definitely like to keep my iron in one spot, moving a little bit longer. You know, you want that heat to build up. And again, the press cloth is there to make sure that you do not burn your fusible or any of your artwork. So this is very important. And there we go. So then we're gonna get this last little bit right here ironed on. Again, press cloth. Letting that heat build up. And there you go. And once your fusible is on, your t-shirt doesn't have the stretch like it did when it was just a knit t-shirt. And this will be a good foundation for our t-shirt quilt when you're ready to quilt it, because there won't be any stretch or pull or anything like that when you're using a long armor, or if you decide to free motion quilt or even use a walking foot on your home machine. And that's step 4. Our last and final step is going to be to true up our block to the final 10.5 inch by 10.5 inch. Now I've taken a little bit off the top and the bottom, and we're just going to see where we're at. So we're still at 12 inches. So we're going to need to get rid of another 1.5 inches. So sometimes you will be cutting into the artwork, and that's fine. You just want to make sure you're getting the majority of the artwork, the essence of it, and you want to make sure to keep it very centered. So if you cut it there and then cut the 10.5 inches, it's very off center. So we need to lose 1.5 inches, and let's see where that leaves us. I think we might lose, so 1.5 inches. Okay. So if we look at this, when we sew into our 1/4 inch, we're going to cut off the bottom of this bozelle. So I would rather cut a little bit off the top, since you'll still be able to tell that it says sauce bowl number 2, and then we can keep the bozelle, and the 1992 isn't the most important part of the artwork, so we can lose that as well. So let's take about 1 inch off the top. Let's start with 3/4 of an inch. We kind of carve it away. If we take big chunks, then we're making a big commitment. But if we take a little bit by a little bit, then we can slowly carve it down to the size that we need and really make sure that we're using the artwork to its best possibility. Okay, so that's 1/4. Let's see, we want to get rid of 3/4. So there we go. Let's line that up. Like I said, we are slowly carving this away. And as you can see, I'm cutting into the artwork, but we only lost a little bit there. So you can still see what it's going to say. So now that we've got that side all cut, we go back and we find 10.5, our finished 10.5. And there we go. We're finished 10.5. And then, actually, is that 10.5? Yes, that's 10.5. So we're going to have a little bit of that at the bottom, but we're going to have the majority of the print. There we go. And now we're going to find the sides. So again, we're going to carve away. So, find a couple inches by the artwork. Use your bottom cut or your top cut to make sure you're cutting everything square. These tops and bottom cuts are straight, and so you can use these to make sure that your cuts are totally square. And again, we're going to carve this down. So slowly and surely, again, use your ruler, guide top and bottom about 2 inches, so then we know our artwork is going to be centered. And now we're going to look at the size, and it's 15.25. So we are going to need to get rid of about 5 inches, a little less than 5 inches. So we can start by getting rid of an inch. Let's get rid of 2 inches off each side. And all of this is done with the grid ruler and my grid Olfa mat. So once you get everything lined up, it's pretty easy to keep things square. Again, you can use the tops and the bottom of your cut. Okay, and we want to take about 2 inches on each side. So 2 inches off that side. And 2 inches on this side. Okay. And we're going to look at the size, and we are still at 11.25, so we still need to remove 0.75. So let's remove a half off this side and a quarter off this side. So we're just going to use our guides to make this easy. This is where these rulers come in handy. 1/2 inch. See where we're at. Okay. And then we're going to mince it off to 10.5. Okay. And there we go. We have our t-shirt block at 10.5 by 10.5 inches. We've utilized the majority of the print while trimming away some of it. And we're going to need 10 to 13 of these for our finished quilt. And there we go. We have our finished 10.5 by 10.5 inch block that we'll be needing for our t-shirt quilt. You'll either need 10 or 13 of those, depending on which design you chose. If you have any questions, you can contact me at quiltsbyadud@gmail.com or find me on Instagram @DudeQuilter. Thanks for watching our first video, and have a wonderful day.